Welcome to Beyond the Table with Chef Chrissy. Thank you for being with me today. Today for our meal, we are going to make a shrimp and avocado salad. And today's guest is Kathy DeWalt. Kathy, come and join me.
Hello.
Okay, so after we put our meal together, our conversation topic for today is recovering after a divorce.
We can do it.
Okay.
It's been done.
It's been done. It's been done. So don't expect any spilled tea. That's not what we're doing today, but we're just talking about the recovery process and just like how to get over the hump, right? And the support needed to do that. So let's get into this recipe with this shrimp and avocado salad. So I've been on this healthy kick, trying to lose these COVID pounds. But also just trying to live a healthier lifestyle with getting older and, just trying to make some life changes. So let's talk about these ingredients. So we have our shrimp. These are steamed shrimp. I'm infatuated with the HEB, so I get them to steam the shrimp for me. We have the avocados here. I've already chopped up my vegetables. We have cilantro, jalapeno, cucumbers, red onion, lime, and tomatoes. So I'm
good.
Yes, and it smells like really fresh. That's a huge thing for me in the summer. Like it's so hot in Texas. Like you have to,
yes, indeed.
You have to have something that is cooling and it won't weigh you down. Like it's nothing worse than feeling fat and full and it's
hot.
200 degrees
and
outside,
hot.
Okay? 200 degrees.
That's right.
Okay, so I washed my hands. So I'm just gonna add the ingredients in the bowl here. And once I get everything added, Kathy's gonna help me out with mixing everything up while I cut up the avocados. I always do the avocados last. You do not want them to oxidize. We want to keep that beautiful green color.
We learn new terms. Oxidize. You can tell I'm not a chef.
We get technical.
Yeah, we get technical.
Okay. So Kathy, I already have the limes squeezed.
Okay.
So I'm gonna scoop down just a tad. Okay, so they can see you work.
Right.
So go ahead and just squeeze the lime over it, and then you can add the shrimp, and I am going to cut up the avocados.
Okay.
And then we'll just top it off with just a little bit of salt because the shrimp, they were seasoned very well before they were steamed. So we do not want to overpower.
Do I need to mix it up in between the squeezing? No.
Yeah, do that last one.
Okay.
Squeeze one more and then mix it up.
Okay.
And I don't know about you, but I really like avocado. So I'm gonna use all three.
That's new for me.
Oh, the avocado?
Yes, I think it's gonna be good. I mean, I've had avocado, but I never really just got into eating them aside from going to a restaurant and getting them on tapas and tacos or something.
Understood.
So this should be good.
Okay. So while we're putting this together, history about how we met. So Kathy was my boss at a previous job. So boss turned friend.
Yes.
Turned client mutually because Kathy also owns a business. So we do patronize each other's business.
A partnership.
Yes. So Kathy, tell them a little bit about your business while we're doing this.
Okay. Well, I have a event decorating firm, and so I do planning and decorating for all events. And then I also do customized gift baskets for all occasions. So it's just really tailored to the client as far as what they would like. And I try to focus in on personalities, hobbies, favorite colors, anything that makes the client feel like it was specially made for them. And so that is the key to the customized baskets and the events, because the events, you want to make sure that everybody is happy. My goal is to continue to spread happiness, joy, love, whatever it takes to put a smile on everyone's face, because we go through so much stress and stuff alone. Just with everyday, you could go to work and get stressed out. So anytime that I can help put a smile on someone's face, it just helps me to smile as well. So.
And I'm telling you guys, these baskets are amazing.
Thank you.
Everyone that I've given a basket to, they have been just blown away.
Thank you.
So I will definitely put Kathy's info in the notes section.
Yes.
I encourage you to reach out to her for any occasion.
Yes, and the name of the company is Your Special Day, because that's how everyone should feel every day.
Okay.
That looks good.
All righty.
Mix that up too.
Yes, mix that up. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to dump the shrimp in.
Okay.
That looks really good. That looks super yummy. Okay, guys, I think we're ready to plate and get started eating and jump into this conversation.
Good conversation.
Absolutely. So stay tuned. Grab a fork so we can get into it. Okay, so we're at the table. The food has been mixed up. We're gonna make our plates, and let's get into this. Okay, so earlier I mentioned how we make. Right, so we used to work at the same place. I've since moved on, and let's see.
Yep, thank you.
But I think our initial lunch, I was just really going through the separation part.
Yeah.
And we went to lunch, and it was just like, you felt something in the atmosphere. When people say like, oh, I could sense something. And
right, that is true.
I felt like you just felt something in the atmosphere. And you asked me how I was doing, and I didn't lie.
That's right.
And because usually people say, oh, I'm doing good.
I'm doing fine. Everything is good.
And let me say this, I felt comfortable not having to lie.
Yeah.
So I told you like how I was feeling, and then you shared that you were going through a divorce as well.
Right.
So that's how we initially had some kind of like common ground outside of actual work related activities. And yeah. So what I've learned through this process, right? Because you know what, a lot of people are like, initially it is always the other person.
Right.
And I felt like it wasn't like I could acknowledge where I was in the situation. And I mean, at one point I even told him, like, I don't even blame you. I shouldn't have married you. Like, not in an ugly way.
Right.
But because there were things that I was dealing with within me that I was just not ready for a mate. And I had, for me, I had struggled with reproductive issues my entire life. And it made me feel, I guess, like subconsciously, like not even realizing, because I had dealt with the issue like literally my entire life since the point that I had started having cycles. struggles. I had issues. And it just made me feel a certain kind of way. Like I was very...
and you dealt with it by yourself?
Pretty much. Pretty much by myself. And just like this little voice in the back of my mind saying that I wasn't like a complete woman because of this deficiency.
Right.
And I feel like I don't use these terms to minimize him, but I just felt like I settled for the person who had seen me go through this a lot in my like adult life, and it didn't kind of like scare him away.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a very good point, because even though my situation was different, of course, Chrissy know all about my situation. It was very different, but you know, my thing was I ignored a lot of red flags, right? And that's one thing that I think that we have to take responsibility for, is our actions, what we decided to accept, thinking, you know, oh well, that's gonna change, or I can deal with it, or it's not major, or things like that. But when you with someone over a period of time, the little things become major, right? Because they start to get on your nerves, right?
Absolutely.
So, but there were a number of things that we didn't discuss, you know, before we got married, that we should have discussed. It was a blended family, which brought a whole different set of, you know, issues, I should say, challenges or concerns. Right. And you just have to really talk through so many things before you say I do. And not saying that that's gonna keep you from having challenges, but at least you know up front what you're going into and what you're dealing with, and you know, if that's what you want to accept. So it was a number of things like that as I look back, I should have thought about that a little longer, or maybe we should have got to know each other a little better, or date longer, right? And the dating scene is up to the individual. You know, you can't say, oh, I need to know you for 2 years, I need to know you for 5 years, or it's up to the individual. But at any rate, you should really try to get to know each other. But there is life after divorce. And I struggled with it for a while, just because I'm older. And starting over when you're older, when I say older, let me see how old I want to share.
First of all, people gonna be looking at this like, how old is she? She's talking about she's older. Listen, I could not believe how old she was when I found out.
But when you are approaching 50, or you're 50 plus, it's extremely difficult, right, to admit the fact that it's not working, and you have to start over, because starting over is a fear for so many people, including myself. I was like, oh, I have to start over. I got to do this. I have kids that I need to be a single parent again. Different things like that. So many things go through your head, but at the end of the day, if you are not mentally stable, or you're going through anything abusive, you know when it's time to get out. So you need to make that decision to get out.
So leading up to my separation, like I was praying. I had a prayer.
This is really good. Sorry.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm like, you could use like a little bit more salt, but I'm loving it.
Because the seasoning on the shrimp is taking care of it. Plus all the other ingredients.
Yeah, it's working together. I love this sound. I literally prayed every day for 2 years straight. And there was no other outcome. It's like I was praying for an alternative when I knew the whole while what the outcome was going to be, but I just had to be sure. And like you said, starting over, right? Earlier we were talking about Sarah Jake's message from yesterday, and if you did not see it, please go on YouTube and go be filled. But she talked about starting over, and that everything isn't about starting from scratch. So when I thought about, I just trying to calculate in my mind starting over. At that point, I had the hysterectomy. So I'm a very young woman who has had a hysterectomy, who has never had children. Thinking forward to being in another relationship, and I just I couldn't connect those dots. Like at that time, I was still thinking about what man would want a woman who can't produce.
We're our own worst critics, and we're so hard on ourselves until sometime we I don't know if I should say block our blessings, but we bring things on ourselves because we're so hard on ourselves, right?
Right. So I just had to get out of that mind space and just think about like all the other things that I have to offer. Like I'm not just a baby making machine, right? Like there's so many other things in life.
There's more to you.
Right. And that's the part that I had to embrace. That there are just so many other things. There's so many other things that I bring to the table.
Other qualities.
Right. And that the man that's for me is not concerned about that. Right? And would not use it against me.
Right.
In like any negative type of way. And like I'm in my 40s now, and I'm just thinking to myself, that's not even something I want to offer somebody at this point. Like I think I've lived a good life thus far, but thinking ahead to what my next chapter looks like, and I always call it number 2. I hope that's not offensive. But when I get my number 2, that's gonna be another chapter as well, right? So I'm enjoying this, getting to know myself, healing myself, like renewing those parts of me that were broken. When I get to chapter 3, new life with a new mate, I really want to experience life.
Oh yeah. And it's key not to settle, right?
Yeah.
That is so key. Don't settle for just a portion of what you want, and first of all, know what you want. Know what you want, know what you're willing to accept, what you will not accept. And again, communication, guys, it is so key. And so once you go through it and you're healing is not overnight. So don't think once you get divorced, you gonna wake up and be like, oh, I'm divorced, it's all over. No, it doesn't work that way. It's so many things that go along with divorce. For one, as you mentioned, you're so hard on yourself. Oh my goodness, what did I do? What could I have done different? Why it didn't work? Just so many things, right? And then that also brings into a lot of insecurities, right? And you do not need to go into another relationship with all that baggage, all that insecurity, still not content with yourself,
right?
Because the key is being happy by yourself before you can be happy with somebody else, because reality is can't nobody else make you happy. I don't care how twisted we get it, you have to be already happy, already know who you are before you bring someone else into the picture.
Absolutely.
Right?
I totally agree with that. Because a lot of times when people make those statements that they're looking for someone to complete them, I think they really mean that, and that's the problem. You have to do some self-work prior to. So you have to be
complete already.
Okay with yourself.
Yep.
Like in any situation before you connect or combine lives with somebody. Now, I will say this. I think you do have a responsibility to your mate to make them feel security in the relationship.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Because those level of games do exist, right? Like, I don't need you to complete me, but there should definitely be some reassurance in how we interact with each other. And
You should compliment each other.
exactly.
You should compliment each other.
Exactly.
So each person should be uplifting, supporting the next or the other, right? So it's vice versa. This is not a one-sided, only the man does this or only the woman does this.
It's mutual.
It's mutual. And one of the biggest things is that mutual respect, right? Have an understanding about, you know, what you really looking for. And I tell anybody, if you honest up front, I don't want that, what they say, your representative. Stop selling the representative, guys, and because you're gonna repeat yourself as far as the, you know, the person that, or the how should I say, maybe the wrong relationship you be in. Because one of the things I ask people all the time, they say, "Oh, I only attract this person." I said, "Well, what are you selling?"
What vibe are you putting out there, right?
What are you selling? Because you need to think about what's attracting you. Yes, yes. What is attracting them to you, and what's making you respond? Because you got to respond,
exactly,
in order for it to turn into anything, right?
I like that. I like how you said it. So saying those frequencies are real.
Yeah. Stop.
But sometimes when I be getting these cray-crays, I be like, I have a level of cray-cray, but I didn't think it was that frequency of cray-cray. Like, move around. I'm not interested in your level of cray-cray. So what would you say would be, give me like your top 3 lessons about going through the process of reevaluating life after divorce and kind of like reestablishing yourself and becoming this whole woman again?
Well, number 1 is admit that it's happening. Sometimes even though we're going through it, we're still in denial. In our minds, we're still in denial. You go through this cycle, right? So admit that this is really happening. And I need to do something about it, because you can get into a negative cycle and go into depression, or, you know, and you get angry. You just continue to go in these cycles. So my thing is just admit that, hey, it's over. It's over. It's happening. You know, we don't need to try to stay in it. It's happening, right? And by all means, your prayer life has to be on point.
Let me tell you.
The only thing that got me through, I should say the main thing that got me through my divorce was my prayer life and my trust in God and my faith, and just constantly praying, you know. And don't be afraid to cry. Don't be afraid to let it out. We got to put this tough thing, superwoman thing behind. Stop acting like we can handle everything, right?
Right.
And you have to say, hey, I can't deal with this right now, right? And you have to stop. My other thing was, everybody is not a positive influence or role model at that time.
Right.
So at different times in your life, you don't need certain people in your life. Because you know how they used to say, oh, they're throwing a party because you having a divorce, or you having something going on wrong in your life. You have to make sure that you, as you stated earlier, you comfortable with whoever you are sharing this information with, because sometimes they don't know it. Sometimes it's not
Right.
intentional, but they could add to that
Yes,
depression,
absolutely.
add to that anger, add to, especially if somebody did you wrong. Your family, your friends, everybody is like, oh,
Let me tell
I
you.
know he didn't, and we know. And it just helps to fuel the fire. I should say, fuel the fire. And that's not what you need. You need peace.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. If you don't have peace about that decision, you don't need to do it. You got to have peace to be able to get through it and say, hey, this is it.
Yes.
I prayed about it, and there's no turning back.
No turning back.
So, those to me, I don't know if I said you 3 or 4, but
No, those were all good.
Yeah.
Look, all good points.
But you have to stay prayed up. You have to minimize your circle, and
Absolutely.
you have to have peace about your decision.
A lot of people did not even know I was separated.
Especially work between. I'm gonna tell you, between work and personal life. If it wasn't my parents, immediate family, then nobody really know until after the papers were signed, right? Especially on the job. I mean, it's okay if you, like Chrissy and I worked together and we were comfortable sharing it.
Yep.
But everybody on your job don't need to know what's going on in your life.
Repeat
This
that for
is
the
real.
people that's in the back. Male and female. Male and female.
Everybody at your job do not need to
Right.
know everything that's going on in your life, because believe it or not, they will use it against you. Everybody is not your friend. You have associates. You have co-workers.
But
Realize
not
that.
even just that, right? But people who, I used to say this all the time to my bonus son. I used to say, don't let the devil use you today. So there are people who will kind of like pounce on you in that vulnerable moment.
Take advantage.
And you need to close a chapter. When I say you need to, like, do whatever you want to do. But for me, you really have to close a chapter before you start writing the next one, because you're just filling a space at that point. And I know a lot of people, if you believe in this, get under somebody to get over somebody, this is not the channel for you. No. So this isn't the channel for you.
Because for one, you haven't healed.
Exactly. And I know that's like kind of like the flesh part, like just wanting to be wanted, especially if you've been through like a really horrible breakup where you have been demeaned and undermined and just like your self-esteem is low. Like I know that's the natural thing to do, but that's going to push you further down the rabbit hole, and you have another layer of hurt that you're going to have to heal.
Right.
So for me,
So true.
Like I started counseling, and this was after, because I thought I was doing good, baby. I was just like, I had enough. I made my decision, and I was just like, I have to keep
I
it
got
pushing.
this.
And I've always had that, I have to keep it pushing type attitude, really my whole life, and not actually dealing with, but like, I have to move on with life. And one of my girlfriends, she's a therapist. You'll see her on another episode. She said, Christina, she said, I don't think you see how you are showing up in the world.
That's good.
So she was like, I encourage you to talk to somebody. And I did. That's another thing. When somebody that you love and trust makes an observation about you, and you know it's coming from a good place,
yes,
you should heed to that advice. So I immediately started counseling after that conversation with her. And it was so much stuff. again, things that I knew that were not necessarily about that marriage, I think God allowed that to happen for me to address some other things that I had never addressed.
Yep, those are insecurities.
Yes.
Yep.
And a lot of my counseling had very little to do with him. Very little to do with him.
That's what you find out. You find out who you are. It helps you to break down all of that stuff and all the reasons why you made decisions in your life. Not just your marriage, but other decisions.
A lot of other decisions. Yes.
It breaks it down.
So I think that was the best thing that I did in that process. And then also being in COVID, like I know a lot of people have experienced loss and hurt during this like year and a half.
Yeah.
But I was grateful for the time for me to have to like deal with that by myself and not have to be in the world when I was dealing with it. So that part I think was a huge blessing for me.
Yeah.
You know,
because you don't really want to always be bothered. And that's just reality. I mean, if we just honest, you don't always want to be bothered. And you know, sometimes, like I say, we put on that superwoman look and keep going, and you get home and you fall apart, or you try to figure out why you're not healing or why you're not getting past certain things. But you have to allow yourself. There's nothing wrong with counseling people. Let's just say that. Nothing wrong with counseling.
Again, for the people that's in the back.
Nothing wrong with counseling.
I encourage it.
Especially if there's kids involved. Because when I went to counseling the first time, it was mainly for my son, right? Because he seemed like he was fine, but I felt like we needed to talk, right? So I made sure that there was involvement with him and that he could talk through, because we try to shelter the kids and assume they don't always know what's going on. But let me tell you something, kids are smart. They know a whole lot more going on than what you think is going on. And, you know, and in my situation, he knew, right? And he was able to voice that or be open about that, right? And I think it was just good. Now I need to go back because I haven't done any more with him, because you know, we did those sessions and we're done. But I need to go back because, and my focus is not really the voice itself, but it's more of, similar to you, have I really dealt with everything, right? Because believe it or not, there's gonna come a time when that person's gonna move on, have somebody, and how are you gonna respond to that person being in your child's life if children are involved? Right. It's so many different variables of triggers. So, you know, this may trigger you, that may trigger you, and if the triggers are making you mad, you're not where you need to be. Right. You want to be able to, it trigger you, but it's like you can laugh about it versus getting ready to, you know, say something bad. You can laugh about the reaction or what has happened, and you can be like,
So a lot of I'm not gonna say a lot. I have a few of the family members that I am still very close to, and I told them, like I don't want to hear anything about him. Like this is the only way that we're gonna be able to stay in relationship. I'm like, you can just give me death notifications. And I said, And some people, I say, you know, the ones I don't like, I don't even want notifications
You know
on
what?
them. Like,
Well, why are we talking again? Why are you telling me this again?
that's all. Like, and not to be ugly, but
And
like,
you're not being ugly. It's like sometimes that's one of the things that keep you from moving forward or from healing. Even though the other person may do it, if you still talking to everybody in the family, they telling you all their business, and it just keep you're not healing. You just get more and more upset and trying to figure
and
out.
still super involved.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I don't like, I don't want to use my space and energy for that because I want that space and energy to be open for the real man of my life. And that's another thing. Like when you're still consumed, and this has nothing to do with marriage. If you are still consumed with relationship with somebody else, that's a frequency also that you're giving off, right? So you wondering why somebody won't be serious with you. You know, you just keep on going through these cycles of dating here and there, relationship here and there, and it's just like it never solidifies. What was the old saying? Like, somebody can't sit in an occupied seat, something like that.
Yep.
Like,
That's right.
There's
no room for anybody else because you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you can't expect what you can't give. You're not ready to. You're not ready to give what you're asking for. So take a step back.
Yeah.
And say, now do I want somebody that's just dating around and doing whatever right now until they find? If that's not what you want, why are you doing it?
So Andy Stanley, he said something very similar to that. Be the person that you want to attract.
Yes.
And you shouldn't be looking like if you are being that person and you're walking in your purpose, that person is gonna come without you looking for
doing
them.
anything. You don't have to look. First of all, the Bible says, when a man finds
a wife. Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Why are we looking for men and?
You know what? That's gonna put us into a whole different conversation. You know what? Okay, so let's just go there for a quick little bit. Okay, let's just go there. Because I recently had a conversation. It actually it is a ongoing conversation with some male friends of mine about really it's the destruction of the family. Women are encouraged to be like these super independent individuals that emasculate men in relationships. Ultimately, that's what they're doing, right? Like I understand the thing about independence, right? I have always been able to take care of myself.
Yeah, I'm independent. I was
have
raised
a
that
business,
way.
right?
Yeah.
Right. I work a corporate job. Like I've been able to do it, but I don't desire to be. How can I say it?
The man.
There you go.
Controlling.
I was trying to use a different word. I don't want to be a man in a relationship.
That's right.
I want to be able to show my femininity. Like I would like to take care of my husband and my family and see about things that really matter. You know, that's like a big thing for me. And I know it's all about perspective, right?
Yes.
That's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
I saw my grandmother really take care of her household and my grandfather. And
generational.
He loved her dearly. You know, I watched my uncles do it with my aunts, and I mean, like, love them dearly. And like, that's just what I desire for my life. I want to take care of those things that matter. Like, since I've been off this past month, like, I enjoy being able to see about my mom. I don't want to have to choose between, especially if I'm
part of your purpose, the caring.
Right. Like that is what
Your
I'm
gift, I should say.
designed to do. Does that mean that I don't have the ability to work? No. Or run a business? No, it doesn't. But I think in my mind, the priority is to be a caring individual in the family that I serve.
Right.
So that thing is going to be prioritized for me.
Right. It's a balance.
And that's what I'm looking for, like moving forward, because I'm already establishing that now as a single woman. So not that I'm looking for a husband. First of all, I'm not making myself available for a husband
or being prepared or ready for one.
Right.
Sometimes we don't pray about the right things. Right. And part of your prayer should be, Lord, send him to me, but prepare me to be a good wife, or the wife that you say I'm supposed to be. And that comes along with values, right? What are your values? Does he have the same values? We talk about a balanced life, and I think people get it confused to think, and this is on both sides, the men and the women, depending on who bring home the bacon, right? Income is not the only thing that you're supposed to be doing. Being a father or a husband or a wife or a mother requires more than bringing home the money, right? It's more than financial. If you only there for financial, you have missed the other 90% of the relationship, of what you should be sharing, the love, the values, the compassion. All of that stuff counts. It matters, all of it matters. It has to come together. So, I think there's a misconception that when people talk about being a provider, they think that that's all a provider is someone that just goes to work and makes sure that food is on the table, the bills are paid. No, because what you have to provide a whole lot more than that. You have to provide more than that.
Even with it, so not saying that those things don't matter. Those absolutely do matter. Because what I can't be is hungry.
Yeah. Oh, it matters. You need to do it, but that's not all you have to do. I'm not going to be hungry. That's right.
But as a part of a balanced household, there's a level of support that is provided to that provider that allows for a balanced household.
That's right.
It allows for him to set boundaries and expectations for how time is going to be spent. And again, this is what works for me. So don't be in my comments with your foolishness if you believe otherwise, right? Like, do that in your household. But what I want for my household, so I was talking to my nephew recently. Young.
I was about to say, okay, what generation was that?
So he's 23.
Okay.
He's 23. So we talked about this very thing. Okay? We talked about this very thing about how he was just telling me how the dating scene is a hot mess. And that he is not,
even at that age.
He's not even interested. He was like, they so shallow. They're not bringing anything that he sees of value to the table. But he's also experienced this same kind of generational thing where they saw the woman taking care of the man. So I was talking to him and I was like, I want to take care of things for my husband, for him not to have to worry about. Like, I want to bring you close to the clearance. and pick them up. I want to
Mm-hmm.
clean your
You
house.
it's basically
And
catering to each other.
yes, because he's providing
Mm-hmm.
and I am the support, right? Whatever that looks like
Yeah.
for him, like whatever he needs in that season is what I want to offer.
Yeah.
And he was like, and he said, that's real right there. He said, because sometimes I was like, I need to wash some clothes. And he was like, and they don't never get washed. He said, I got clothes right now. He said they need to go to the cleaners. But like even as a single guy.
Yes. If I just had some help with this.
4 tens. And like
Yeah.
already like when I get off, like I'm dog
He's
tired.
Yep.
Like I said for a young person to be like they over it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm over it in my 40s.
Yes,
but I
in my
don't
50s.
believe that it's hopeless, right? Because I believe that there's a man who also values this, right? Because he's seen his father do it. He's seen his mother be the support.
Yes,
he's seen his
absolutely.
grandfather do it and his grandmother be the support. So like I still want to have my business, right? But that gives me flexibility to be this
In your
support
own boss.
system.
Yep.
And still generate income for our household, and to build generational wealth. So that goes back really to the values that we were talking about. Like if we don't believe in the same thing, that was a huge downfall too.
Yeah.
You have to agree. Like there's rules even to war, right? There's some things that we're not going to do, right? And if you don't already have those things established, and then the first time we have a disagreement, it's like you didn't drop the nuclear bomb.
It's a big deal.
For something crazy,
so major.
like I didn't put out the trash.
Yeah.
That's cray. Like everything is not a death penalty offense.
Right. And the other thing that I want to say is that you should not be in competition with your mate. If you're jealous of each other,
You
you're
can't
divided.
even be friends if
Right.
you're jealous with somebody.
But it happens. You be surprised at how many marriages, and I kind of feel like my spouse had that in him. It'll show up every now and then. If I'm doing it, he's got to do it better. And you don't want to be competing against your spouse. You guys are one. You supposed to be going in the same direction as far as what you're trying to accomplish, your goals. Not saying that your goals are the same, but how can you really be supportive if you're competing, right? And so if you already see that, don't you need to iron that out before you go forward, because it could be a problem. It's so many small things that people think are small that become major problems.
Yes, major problems.
These things, like again, you have to talk through these things. And I know, we go to the marriage counseling and blah, blah, blah. But people lie during that time too.
Ooh. Lord, don't they? Don't they? Because
just because you talking
that's
to the
wrong
preacher,
place to bring your representative is to marriage counseling.
marriage counseling. If you still the rap's still there, you haven't accomplished anything.
Right.
So get as comfortable as possible with each other. Spend that time to find out, the real person. And it's okay to do that. You know, sometimes we go into it intentionally. I'm ready to get married, and which is okay if that's what you're ready to do. But even though you're ready to do that, get to know the person, right? And don't put down these ultimatums about marriage.
Right.
Right. Because if you having to constantly talk about it or tell him about it, eventually he may ask, but now you got to ask yourself, does he really want that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, so.
And
but afterwards, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But afterwards, you know, and everything that I've learned and everything that I've gone through, one thing you cannot do is give up on God and give up on love, because all of that is a connection. And if you feel like you can't love anymore, or nobody can love you, you are not ready. You have not healed.
Right.
You haven't begun to heal, because that's part of life.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that.
And second chance, third chance, fourth chance, whatever chance that you are getting, you need to take advantage of being okay with who you are and loving somebody and allowing somebody to love you. So I think we give up, and then we make the mistake of turning into the people that hurt us. So don't do that. Because that happens as well. You turn into, and when you're going and through this healing process, you go through all of these cycles. You angry, you mad, you want to say things to them that's gonna hurt them because they just hurt you. You know, the conversations get bad, or you go into that depression, or you go into that I'm okay phase, lying to yourself. I call it the denial phase, right? So you're gonna constantly go in these cycles until you begin to heal to break the cycle, right?
So last question of the evening.
Okay, last question of the evening. I probably talked too much.
No. This is good. This is good.
I'm
I feel
always
like
running my mouth like
a part 2. What is a couple that you say, you look at them and you say, okay, hashtag goals? Whether it's somebody that you know personally or a celebrity marriage, like, do you have a relationship of two people, husband and wife, who you would like, those are goals?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna answer that twofold.
Okay.
I would say yes, because I would look at my own parents to say, wow, you know, my parents have been married. How old am I? 53, almost 54 years. They have been married, right? And I have watched them go through so much and still survive, right? To me, that's a goal, because that's like, I got your back no matter what.
Right.
No matter what goes on,
right,
we gonna get through it, right? But when I say it's twofold, is I kind of made the mistake of thinking that what worked for them is gonna work for me. And that's not true. So you can admire and get advice, pointers, whatever from someone else, but what works for you and your mate is what works for you and your mate. Right? No two people are the same. You can be similar, you could be whatever, but that notion of it's a one size fits all, or you know, you either this way or that way. That's not true. It what works for you in your relationship, because everything that worked for the next couple is not going to work for you. And so you can't really look at anyone else and say, you know what, this worked for them and they've been married 53 years, so this was going to work for me. No, it doesn't work. Because you, first of all, you're not marrying your father. or that person, you know, even though we, you know, they say you date or you marry or somebody that's similar to a parent or
opposite.
Yeah. So we need to stop that. Stop that, because that's not reality, right? I think for me, there's so many things that was like a reality check. Like, well, this was supposed to work, right?
Yeah.
I did all the right things. I did all the, you know, why this doesn't work? But reality is what works for you and yours is not going to work for the next person.
Okay.
So.
Good answer. Good answer. Okay, guys, I just want to thank you for joining us this evening. And I encourage you to have these conversations like in your own friend groups. Like, please leave comments, join the conversation. We'll come back and do a part 2.
Yeah, if y'all want to hear some more.
We have enough of these conversations. There might be some tea spilling.
I know, right? Some stuff may come out.
Right. Unintentional, but it may come out.
Yes.
So I just want to thank Kathy for joining me this evening.
I enjoyed it. This is awesome.
Yeah, listen, after we cut this camera off, I'm going to have me a
second
bowl.
That's right.
Listen.
It's trying not to look greedy on the camera.
But I don't feel bad. It's salad. It's just salad. All good things, no preservatives or anything like that. So again, thank you for joining us on Beyond the Table, and we look forward to the next episode.